Welcome back. This is video 4, our final video for Unit 3 as we talk about trade discounts and cash discounts. On video 3, we got into the notion of cash discounts relative to being able to make a prompt payment and save a few bucks. So we're going to continue that. We'll look at a few more options related to cash discounts, end of months, and receipt of goods. So here we go. Fire it up. Let's go. All right, this is example 11. So on the heels of what we just left at the end of video 3, this is another ordinary dating discount. So you look at your terms. All right, the invoice is dated May 10th. We'll save 2% if we pay within 10 days of receipt. We can save 1% if we pay up between day 11 and day 15, but it's all due at the end by the end of the 30th day after the receipt. Okay, there is a $100 freight charge included in that price. Remember, there are no discounts on freight, so be careful with finding your percentages relative to the $1,200 could get you in trouble. First question, on what date does the 2% discount end? Well, the 2% is good for 10 days after the receipt of that invoice that was the date on the invoice, which was May 10th, so that should be the 20th. So hot dang, we got one right. So if we can pay before May 20th, we'll be eligible for the 2% discount. It looks like we paid on the 23rd, according to the guy who typed the problem. So we're going to miss out on that one. The question then becomes, well, what about that 1% discount, Dell? Well, that was good for the first 15 days between day 11 and day 15. So in this case, if you say, well, 15 tacked on to May 10th, would mean if we paid by May 25th, somewhere between May 20 and May 25, we could get that 1% break. And we do. We pay on the 23rd. So we'll be eligible for a 1% discount. But remember, it's not applicable on that freight charge. So be careful about that. All right, next question as it relates to that says, well, when's the money got to be there? When does the credit period end? It ends 30 days after. And again, you got to watch the day count relative to months. So we're tacking 30 on from what was May 10th. All right, so if you will play it out, May is a month that has 31 days. So 21 of those 30 days would be in May, and then the next 9 will carry you into June. So the 30th day turns out to be June 9th. So that money is due by June 9th. We're paying on May 23rd. We're good to go. We missed out on the 2%, but we were early enough to get the 1%. Be careful now on your payment amounts. All right, you'll notice that we're looking at $1,100 being multiplied by 1%, not the $1,200, because that included that $100 freight charge. So there was no discount on freight. So discount of $11 on merchandise. So that makes the merchandise total $1,089. We'll add back in the 100 for freight, and we'll make our invoice check for $1,189 as it relates to payment for that invoice. We got the 1% discount, but we weren't able to get the 2. We didn't get it there quite fast enough. We're losing power on the laptop. Hold tight. There we go. All right, moving on. All right, receipt of goods is a bit different because now we're going to look at what happens in terms of that discount capabilities, but it doesn't start until the buyer gets the goods. So you say, well, why would somebody do this? The general consensus is if it's going to take a while, you'll place an order, but it may take a while until the product is manufactured before it shows up. Now it's all based on when the buyer took delivery of the goods. When did the goods actually show up for the buyer? An example notation down there, 3/10N/30, ROG based on return on receipt of goods. Here's an example for us to consider. $1,200 invoice. All right. The invoice was dated on August 12th. So the purchase was made in August. But look, the goods didn't get received until November 8th. All right. The terms on this are 3/10. It's all due within 30 of the receipt of goods. There are no freight charges. We're going to make the payment on November 19th. First question says, what date does the 3% discount period end? Remember, it's 10 days after the receipt of goods. All right, so it's not relative to that August 12th. It's now relative to November 8th. So 10 days after the 8th would put us at November 18. So if we pay by the 18th, we're going to be eligible for that 3% discount. And you look right above, it says, hey, we're going to pay on November 19th. So we're going to miss out. All right. We are going to, in fact, have to pay the full invoice price. All right. When's the drop dead due date on this? Well, it's 30 days after we received the goods. We received the goods on November 8th. So again, it's that days in the month kind of thing. All right. There are 30 days in November. So 22 days get us to the end of November. And then 8 more days to comprise the 30 would take us into 8 days of the next month, which is December. So it's all due by December 8th. We paid on the 19th. How much did you have to pay? We paid full $1,200 because we weren't early enough to take advantage of the 3% discount that we could have had if we had paid by, or I should say, by November 18th. Okay. Another kind is end of month. This one's a little more sneaky because it tends to base on when the invoice is dated in the month. So if you read the screed, it says if the invoice is dated the 25th or earlier of a month, and the buyers can take cash discount if they pay the invoice within the first 10 days of the next month after the sale. However, if the invoice is after the 25th, so late in the month, think about that, then the buyers, in effect, gain an extra month. It's not the next month that we're talking to. It's the month after, or the second month that followed the sale. We're going to look at an example of each of these as we move forward, and then we'll wrap down the unit with something that considers both trade discount and sales discount to put a pretty bow on the package. All right, here's your first example for end of month. Notice the invoice is dated June 4th. So that certainly is within the first 25 days of the month. That means that when we look at that 1/10 EOM, we're going to have a discount capability within the first 10 days of the next month after June, which happens to be July. First question says, when does the discount period end? Well, it's the first 10, so it's July 10th. All right, we're going to pay on July 9th, according to the guy who typed the problem. So props to us, we're going to be eligible for that discount. Okay. Question says, when did the credit period end? And it's a 30-day month that we're generally considering. So 30 days as you're talking about starting on July 1st would be July 30th. So it's a 30. Now I consulted the text on this just to make sure, and they generally say that most of these are based on a 30-day month. So we'll go with what he says. Last question says, how much did we pay on July 9th? Well, hey, man, we got that 1% discount, baby. So 1,500 times 1% means we saved $15. So we'll be sending a check for $14.85. All right, so we were able to take advantage of a 1% discount. Contrast what we just did on 13 with what's going to happen on 14, and it's all relative to the date on the invoice. All right, so on 14, check me out here. The invoice is dated May 27th. So that's after the 25th of May. Now, in this sense, we catch kind of a break because we're not going to have to make our payment in the next month. All right, we won't have to make our payment in June. In effect, it carries over to the following month, which is July. All right, so within that first 10-day window, we're eligible for a 2% reduction. We're going to pay on July 9. All right, so check me out on this. When does the discount period end? Again, since the invoice date was after the 25th of May, we don't play in June, we play in July, the month after June, and we'll have our discount period for the first 10 days, all right, the first 10 days in July. When's the credit period end? Again, 30 days, so 30 days into July, you guessed it, that takes us to July 30th. How much did we pay on July 9? Well, on July 9, we're within the window to get the 2%. So if you take your 1,500 times 2%, we're going to save $30. We sent $14.70 as payment for our $1,500 invoice. Partial payments. This is an interesting one. You know, you might still be able to send some money even if you can't pay the whole thing. And I should point out that not all states and probably not all merchants accept partial payments. I would tend to think they'd want the full amount pretty much any time they could get it. So we're going to look at an example where you've got an allowable partial payment in a state or with the merchant who would accept it. All right, Bonnie buyer owes $800. Her terms are 310 net 30. So within that 10 days, Bonnie's sending money. She's sending $120. So now that $120, since it's made within 10 days, does entitle her to that 3%. So to find out how much she gets credit for on that $120 check, we got to find out in effect what the complement of 3% is, and that's 97%. So she's going to get credit not for $120, but for $120 divided by 0.97, or in effect, she's getting knocked off her bill $123.71. We could play that one with that P equals BR formula, all right, where you're finding out the base and you know the percentage is 120. All right, the rate would be the 0.97. So that's maybe a cleaner look at how you got here rather than, oh yeah, numbers fell out of the sky and I saw what happened. The problem then says, what's her new balance? All right, well, she owed 800. As it turned out, she got credit for 123.71 of it. So she owes the difference, which is 676.29. Okay, partial payment brings in the complement idea. Take the payment amount divided by the complement, in effect finds out how much of your bill gets reduced by that partial payment, provided you made it within that discount window. All right, in this case, the first 10 days. All right, it's going to wrap it all up. It's going to have both. It's going to have a trade discount and a cash discount, and you can read the problem. You've got a freight charge to be careful with. Remember, no discounts on freight. The terms initially are 410N30 for payment on receipt of goods. All right, so it's a $6,500 list price, 30% trade discount. Let's go ahead and find out the impact of the trade discount. So we're going to find our net price. We're going one shot, baby. 30% off. We're still paying 70%. So you guessed it. The net price on that's $4,550, $4,550. That does not include the 100. So it's FOB shipping. That means the buyer, in this case, Charlie's Chairs, is going to have to pay the $100 freight charge. Okay, so the invoice total would reflect that additional $100. So there's $4,650 as an invoice headed out, okay, for Charlie's Chairs. All right, so it's 410N30 receipt of goods. Charlie's gets the chairs on July 19th. Okay, so now in terms of what he's going to pay is going to be relative to July 19th. So let's play cash discounts. He gets 4% cash discount if he makes his payment within the first 10 days. Okay? Remember, that's only on the merchandise, not the shipping, not the freight. Okay? All right, so Charlie got the goods on the 19th. He's paying on the 22nd. He's certainly within a 10-day window, so he will get that 4% discount. Again, I took a one-shot deal here. The 96% is what he's paying. All right, so he's going to pay for the merchandise because he's taking the discount, cash discount, $4,368. What about that freight? Well, he's going to have to add it on. So the final price that he's going to pay, that $43.68, because he was eligible for his cash discount, he got that 4% because he paid within that 10-day window. But remember, there's no discount on freight, so you got to add that 100 back in. So my man Charlie's going to send $4,468 as full payment for that invoice. That ends the video act on Unit 3. Your second activity for Unit 3 is, again, going to be a set of problems from your textbook that you see in that lovely purple text box. It'll be listed as a learning lab activity for you. You're going to crank out some solutions, practice your trade discounts and cash discounts, and send them my way. and I'll get some points in there for you. So we'll be back soon with videos for Unit 4. Thank you. See you then.